Hey guys, it's Honest Cake, and I am so freaking excited about what came out today. The Horizon Zero Dawn 2 teaser trailer is out. I cannot believe it. I did not expect to see this early. And I shouldn't say Horizon Zero Dawn because apparently we're getting Horizon Forbidden West. We are going to the Forbidden West, which I can't believe this is happening. I am so excited, guys. I screamed for like a good solid hour. Anyways, I just want to take a look at the trailer with you guys, break it down a little bit, give you some of my thoughts and opinions. I haven't done like too much research or looking into it on certain aspects. You'll see when we do the video, but I just want to give you some of my initial thoughts and reactions. Oh my god, guys, this is insane. So yeah, let's get right into it. Within the first couple seconds, I knew this was going to be a Horizon Zero Dawn trailer watching the PS5 stream, just because of the initial sounds and notes in the soundtrack. If you know anything about me, my favorite part of any game is really just the game's official soundtrack. And I'm so happy that Horizon has been able to establish its own well-defined soundscape and sound style, and it's so recognizable, and I absolutely love that. And from what we get in the trailer, I know this game is also going to deliver on the soundtrack front. We get a couple more establishing shots with these, some more ruins. The one thing that I do want to point out is the vegetation. It definitely marks a shift away from the first game and really drives home like the coastal feel with the palm fronds and just how lush and dense the foliage looks on the buildings and around them. So it's going to be, I'm thinking back to the first game, kind of like the jewel area, the jungle area of the game, but on steroids. I, like many, am not really a big fan of underwater sections in games and swimming mechanics in general. Horizon did it fine, but that's because we didn't really go underwater. But if the game looks this gorgeous and this amazing on the PS5, that may change my opinion, because my god, that just looks stunning, and I'm so excited to see what the artists come up with for the underwater sections. It's going to be amazing. Now we get our first look at our favorite machine hunter, Aloy, despite the Nora. I'm super glad to see her back on a charger mount. Chargers were my favorite mount from the game, so that made me quite happy. But we see her here going across the beach after those hermit crabs came across a fish that seems to be afflicted by some kind of plague or disease, which seems to be related to the red vegetation that we're seeing on the ground. And that's a theme that comes up a lot in this video, this red plague-like vegetation. So that's going to be related to the main plot. We're trying to take that down, figure out what's going on. One thing that I wanted to note here in this scene, while she's going across the beach, the way that these red plants are growing off the ground, I immediately thought of Metal Burn from the first game on the ground, the corruption, and how whenever it was on the ground or near Aloy, it would kind of have these tentacles springing up like these particles. So immediately I thought of that, and I almost thought that was Metal Burn on the ground in this scene. So a personal theory of mine, perhaps, is maybe that's related to these plants. Maybe the metal burn that got out during the events of Horizon 1, and of course just because of the corruptors and their presence in the world. Maybe that kind of had some weird relationship with the environment, and some vegetation kind of took after that. And because of the effects that we see metal burn have on Aloy in the first game, it poisons her. That could spell disaster for any kind of ecosystem. So that's kind of what's going on in my mind right now. I like that idea. But of course we have no idea. We'll see what happens, but we get some more shots of the red plant later on in the trailer. Bit of a change of scenery in this shot. Now we are in a bit more of a jungly, dense area, which looks beautiful, by the way. I am so excited. Again, this reminds me a bit of the jungle areas in Horizon 1. Just the lighting and the lush plant life. It's going to be great to explore. And now we really do see this red plant taking over and kind of spreading throughout this area. And of course, this poor little fox that Aloy finds that seems to be afflicted by this plant. And now our first new machine. Oh, I am so excited, guys. Like throughout this trailer we see, I think, 4 or 5 new machines, which is crazy. I know people would have loved to have more in the first game, but I thought we had a great variety, so the fact that we're going to be getting so many more is so exciting. I don't really know if they're planning on cutting any of the old ones. I can imagine they might probably do that because of the change in setting, but we see tons of old favorites like the Charger and the Snap Maw later, so I'm sure we'll get a good mix of old and new. But this machine is huge and definitely kind of turtle inspired. I don't really know much beyond that right now. I wonder, it would be really cool if in the game this machine always has that kind of foliage on his back and he's always kind of somewhat camouflaged. That would create some pretty interesting scenarios and encounters. Maybe we'll see a version without the stuff on the back and then some with the plant life on top. Anyways, super excited. A lot of these new machines look huge, like I said, and terrifying, so it's going to be great to have some combat with them. Okay, there is a lot to unpack in this short little clip. First thing, Utaru. I'm 100 or 99% sure that's the Utaru tribe right there. They were featured very, very shortly in the first game. There was like 1 or 2 quests, I think, like very side minimal quests that dealt with the Utaru, and then you could see them in taverns across the world. But from the little that I remember and that we learnt about them, they came from some more fertile plains to the south or southwest, and they are pretty much just a farming tribe. So it makes sense for them to be featured in this game due to this affliction, red plant vegetation thing going on, because they would be one of the tribes most affected by this just because of their reliance and dependency on agriculture, and that's their whole thing, right? They're the farming tribe. So the fact that their lands are getting taken over by this crop means the Utaru are going to be facing some pretty tough times, and it's going to be great to get to know them. Horizon 1 had super diverse and super, like, just very well fleshed out tribes, so I have no doubt they're going to be doing the same for the Utaru here and the tribe that we see later on in the trailer. Secondly, we get a look at this storm thing happening up top, which also happens to be red. Pro tip, guys, red in Horizon usually means bad. This storm is heavily featured throughout the rest of the trailer, so this is also going to be very plot relevant. I have no idea what's going on with it. One of the sub-functions, as you'll know, one of Gaia's sub-functions is the ether sub-function, which had to do with cleansing the air, and I believe the Stormbirds were kind of related with that sub-function. So my guess right now is potentially something's playing with ether, or maybe the ether sub-function doesn't like something happening in the world, so he's throwing up this storm. I don't really know, but the only thing that I can think of is this ether sub-function. Here we got another beautiful establishing shot of some more landscapes we're going to be able to see in the game, and this one actually includes all of the different units of the Pharaoh Swarm. So it's nice to see that those guys are still kind of littering the ground all around the world because of what happened during the Pharaoh Plague. And again, we have that storm in the background. This is the moment that a lot of us were waiting for, underwater exploration in Horizon 2. Now, as you can see, Aloy has some kind of respiratory device on her face. I'm really glad the game seems to be going in that kind of direction, because if we just had to hold our breath and then dip down for 10 seconds, come back up, it would just be kind of painful. Especially because it looks like we're going to be able to explore some pretty big ruins underwater and some nice environments. I don't really have that many theories on what this device could be. One of my favorite things that we got to see in Horizon 1, but not too often, was humans taking specific parts from machines and kind of repurposing them for their own purposes. The one that comes to mind immediately is in the Frozen Wilds DLC at the bandit camp. Some of the bandits had scanners taken off scrappers and mounted onto their backs, and they could use them to detect the player. So this could be an example of that. Perhaps we're going to see some, well, obviously we're going to see some more aquatic machines. That has to be the case. And maybe this was something pulled off of one of them that kind of gets oxygen from the water and allows Aloy to breathe underneath. Maybe it's something that's completely built from scratch from a human tribe like the Oseram, or some other tribe that has some experience living on the coast, because this seems like it would be something pretty essential for those who live there. We get a view of some snap maws swimming above us, which is pretty refreshing. It's interesting actually being underneath them for once, underwater. And then a panning shot onto a building, and if you look closely, it says San Francisco on the lettering on the building. This shot really took me by surprise. I was not expecting that. So we get Aloy looking at some, I believe, pardon me if I'm wrong, I believe it's Chinese script or Mandarin on this plate, and then she stands up and sees this holographic image of the dragon swirling around her, which is beautiful, guys. This is gonna look great in game. I talked to a couple of my friends, and from what I've gathered, I believe the plate says playground or something related to recreation. Again, I could be completely wrong, so I am so sorry if I got that wrong. But if that's the case, who knows what it means. Maybe it was... Yeah, I genuinely have no idea if that's actually what it means, playground. When I first saw this, my initial thought was maybe we're going to get to see some different groups other than Zero Dawn that weren't really US based, that were kind of taking action against the Pharaoh Plague and making their own plans. Because even though Zero Dawn was like a global effort, there were scientists from around the world and there were cradles built everywhere, it was still like mainly based in the US, and it had Elizabeth Sobek at the head. So I would not be surprised if there were other groups like Far Zenith that had some role in the events in the year leading up to the end of the world. So maybe this is the result of one of those groups, or it's really just some alternate reality playground game with the dragon flying around you. Either way, it's cool. I'm excited to see it in the game. Next, we get some more landscape establishing shots. Really great. I love seeing little bits of the world that we're going to get to explore in Horizon 2, which I believe is going to be even bigger in size than Horizon 1. That's just my guess from the variety of environments that we're seeing. The first one we see, it looks similar to really the Nora lands in the first game, and it looks like we have evidence of some tribe constructions. We're going to get to see this new tribe later on in the trailer. I'm going to talk about them a little bit further. They might be the Tenakth, but I'll get to that later. And then we see her going across this desert landscape, which makes sense. We're in the Forbidden West. We're going to be going through the Mojave, I think is going to be in that area, Death Valley, all of that more desert landscape on the other side of the mountains near the west coast. Now, for this one, I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments below, because I am not really sure what we're looking at. At first, I thought it looked like an impact crater of something like a satellite, or maybe a colony ship, the Odyssey, that crashed down into the Earth. But upon closer inspection, that doesn't really look like it's the case, just because of how symmetric and organized it looks. Like all around the main spikes, it looks like, this ring of spikes, there's these little dots in the sand, and they're all perfectly organized in lines and circles. Maybe it was a solar farm? That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Maybe those are all remnants of solar panels in the sand. But either way, it looks like it's going to be playing a pretty important role. So let me know what you guys think that is, because I would love to hear some ideas. Maybe it's something super obvious that I'm just forgetting. I don't know, let me know. The trailers for the first Horizon game all had some pretty important landscape shots of mainly mountain areas that reflected real-world mountain ranges, notably the Rockies. So as soon as I saw this vista in the game, I knew that this was a hint as to some locations that we're going to explore. So I went onto Google Maps, looked at the nearest mountain range to San Francisco, because I'm not too familiar with the geography of that area. I'm from Canada. I saw that it was Yosemite Park, searched up Yosemite Park, and the first image that I found is almost a perfect match to what we see in this image. So this is definitely some landscapes of Yosemite Park that we're going to be able to explore. This makes sense because this mountain range is in between the coast and the locations that we see in the first game, so Colorado and Utah. So Aloy is definitely going to have to traverse this mountain range or park to get to the coast. And there she is, the Golden Gate Bridge, with a huge metal devil perched right in the middle of it. You know the trope, guys, the Golden Gate Bridge getting destroyed in every movie. I can imagine during I feel bad saying this because it's a really dark time in the Horizon history, but during the Enduring Victory War, this metal devil just climbing on top of the Golden Gate Bridge, destroying it, you know, it's a trope. This is going to be such a cool set piece to see in the game, and again, it really does establish the San Francisco setting. Now, for my absolute favorite scene of this trailer, we get to see Silence, guys. That was a given. We know he's going to play a huge role in this game based off what happened at the end of the last one. And can I just say, his character model looks so freaking cool. There's a slight glow in the Banuk wirings that are in his skin, and it just looks so cool. I'm so excited for the graphical updates to Horizon. This game was already one of the most gorgeous games out there, and it's just going to be even more stunning with this. And we have these meteor shower-esque things in the sky. Now, initially, I was like, oh my god, that's the Odyssey. The Odyssey's crashing, or there's parts of the Odyssey that's going to crash into the ground. But the more that I look at it, it's very distinctly red, and it almost looks like that. So going back to the end of the first game, you know, when Silence captures Hades in the post-credit scene, and he flies through the air like this kind of weird metamaterial red glowy thing. That's what that looks like. I don't think that exactly looks like burning wreckage in the atmosphere. It looks almost like metal burn or signals being sent. Maybe it's related to the signal that woke Hades, that Silence references as your master at the end of the first game. So I don't think it's actually something crashing through the atmosphere. It's probably something more like a signal or something being spread in the air. I'm not really sure, but it's super cool, and I'm excited to see what it means, guys. It could go a million different directions. And Silence. We all love Silence. Quick side note, Silence also has his spear back. So either he recovered it from the Spire at Meridian, or he made a new one. Either one seems pretty probable. Silence can get around. And then we pan around and we got another machine, guys. This one looks like it's inspired by boars, giant boars, which is funny because we actually have boars in the game. Quick look at it. Can't see too much in terms of detail. It looks like it has some kind of pack on the back, like a charge pack or a sparker. That's what it's called. We see the blaze, almost like veins throughout it, like most of the other machines have. And of course, the big two, what's the word I'm looking for? Tusks almost at the side of its face. So that's going to be used for an attack, probably. That's most of what I can gather from the quick look that we get at this new machine. And then, even more stuff going on. Again, this is my favorite scene in the trailer because it spells out so much. We have another tribe that we're dealing with. I am not 100% sure if this is the Tenakth. Initially, I was pretty certain they kind of have a similar clothing style going on, but I think the Tenakth in the first game painted more of their skin blue, and I don't think they had such crazy headdresses on. So there's a good chance that's not who they are. I don't think it is anymore, but really, who knows? Maybe they're just getting a bit of an aesthetic change in the new game. Regardless of who they are, what they're doing is super important. They are using spears that look very similar to Silence's lance, which have what I can only assume to be an override module on them to override or corrupt these machines. This is, I think, exactly what Silence did with the Eclipse. He taught them how to take machines into their control with the help of Hades, of course, and now it seems like he's doing it again with this new tribe, or something similar at least. So we have Aloy going up on her mount to a large vista of San Francisco. We got the Golden Gate Bridge in the left, and then what I imagine is the downtown to the right. But this just gives a great overview of the environments, the coastal environments that we're going to get to look at. I love how most of the large buildings are really just submerged and surrounded by water. So in that sense, it's going to feel a bit more different compared to Denver. Here we get some more close-ups on the new tribe that we're going to be facing. Again, really not sure if this is the Tenakth. I could see it, but I can equally see it being someone new. And on this last guy, he's got these two huge weapons or tools mounted on his hands. And finally, we get a look at one of the new machines. and oh my god, does this thing not look so cool. Obviously, it's inspired by elephants or mammoths, and I cannot wait to take this thing down. If you zoom in real close and slow it down, you can see some blaze right on what I guess its trunk is. So, you know what? She's gonna be spewing fire at us, guys. And the shot with the new tribe walking alongside of it, and they have the constructions on top to carry them, is just so cool. It's gonna add such a new dynamic to this game and to the combat. And this is definitely a result of their interactions with Silence. Silence is definitely teaching this tribe how to override these machines and use them. And this is something that I really wanted to see being explored in the new game, because Aloy can now control these machines which are integral to the world. So can you imagine the Karja, the Oseram getting on their hands on overriding and using them as either defense or helpers in the cities? There's just so much potential, and equally as much potential to be seeing enemies or opponents to Aloy also using this technology to their advantage. So I really hope we get to see that aspect of the world get explored a bit more. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling about this trailer. This wasn't a very analytical breakdown of the trailer that we got, more of me just sharing some of my ideas, thoughts, and theories. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I'd love to get some discussions going in the comments if you watch this video. Tell me what you think is going on with the strange red plants, the storm, Silence, and the new tribe. There is so much to break down. We got so much in this trailer. I would have been glad if we just got like an image of Aloy standing in some unremarkable forest, but we got so much, and I cannot wait to get more news about Horizon Forbidden West. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I definitely plan on doing some more Horizon 2 content when the game comes out and leading up to it. And again, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this trailer in the comments. Have a good one, and keep your eye out for fire-breathing mammoths.